where were we?
Did you come up with a question while I was away?
Not so much.
Okay. So I'll just go back to hacking through the undergrowth on my own here. It's a lot of what Brian Dunbar is asking on one level or another is where did the idea of these aardvarks come from? And like I say, I mean, the immediate and glib answer is, well, Dave Sim came up with them. It's because that gets into where do you get your ideas again. Did an unknown entity implant the idea in me? I assume as a monotheist and as a believer in predestination, I was predestined to be the guy that does the 6,000-page comic book, which, okay, what is that in the context of human history? Well, there's really only one of them. I mean, unless we want to start talking about Spawn and Lone Wolf and Cub and Savage Dragon in the same context of one extended narrative. But I am I'm in various categories. I'm the guy that does the 6,000-page comic book. I'm also the first guy to say, I think YHWH and God are two different beings. And I think YHWH is God's adversary. I think YHWH thinks YHWH is God. And I think that's completely delusional. And I think that's what the Torah and the Gospels and the Quran are principally concerned with, is the back and forth on the question, who is whose son? Who generated who? Who pre-existed who? Aaron becomes Moshe's prophet. Is God YHWH's prophet, or is YHWH God's prophet? And my answer would be neither of them. And YHWH is just a creation, bigger than human beings, but just a creation of God, and has a wildly disproportionate self-view of his, her, itself. So when Brian asks, okay, who created these? Who created this concept? Certainly my awareness at the time was that I was creating them, but I don't know if they were given to me. And, you could mount a persuasive argument on either side as to whether they were given to me by God or given to me by God's adversary just to cause trouble. That this is a way of looking at prophethood, judgeship, seership, all of these different aspects of theological ways of being a teacher, being a rabbi. Is that what I am? And it's like, I don't know. Does doing a 6,000-page comic book concerned with these sort of subjects um, put you in that category by definition? Or conversely, does the fact that you don't just treat it as a raw material for a 6,000-page comic book, but in fact decide to devote your life to essentially getting entertainment, in quotation marks, out of your life and replacing it with scripture? Like, I would much rather read scripture. I don't know how much I understand scripture, but I certainly, I think, read more scripture more often than the average individual does. Okay, what is that? Getting back to what Brian actually says here, if that is indeed the case, my guess would be that God created Aardvark to be a special kind of prophet, and that it was Cerebus's destiny to convert to Judaism, bring down the false Tarum and Terum religion, and finally interpret the Bible in the correct way. That's certainly what I thought I was fictionalizing. Is that what I'm actually documenting? Was that God's intention to say, you're overthinking this prophet thing? A prophet isn't, or a seer, or a judge, isn't necessarily the exalted being that you're thinking that they are. They're just really interested, engaged, thoughtful people who are interested in discussing these subjects and not really interested in imposing their views on other people on these subjects or subjecting other people to their theological conclusions. Just saying, okay, I've been reading scripture nonstop for just about 23 years now, and these are the conclusions that I've come to. I haven't, the more I read, and the more frequently I read, and the more in depth I read, the more I tend to think, I think I'm right in what I'm saying. Now, where it goes from there really depends on whether this becomes universally accepted. It's shocking and offensive and whatever else Dave Sim always is in our society to say that God and YHWH are two different beings and YHWH is God's adversary. But almost all of the conclusions that we've come to and ideas that we've adopted started as really offensive viewpoints at some point in our history. So, getting back to Brian again, this would make sense of the visions Cerebus has in the final third of Cerebus. However, it's complicated by the fact that Dave Sim himself appears in mind, and again in guise, revealing himself to be Cerebus's creator, and also admitting to being created by the God who exists in real life, adding a metafictional layer that further confuses the issue. Possibly further confuses the issue or clarifies it. It's why I prefer the original literal translation of the Koine Greek, the being into the bosom of the Father, that explains. It explains it. It's just you got to get your head wrapped around it. That I created Cerebus, God created me, and I think for the same sort of good purpose. I didn't. I created, as he goes on is, why did Dave create Aardvark? To get sort of rich and sort of famous, as he memorably put it. But in the universe, where do the plans of God, be it YHWH, harem, God, or Terum, factor into all of this? Is there an explanation? If so, was I on the right track earlier? Is there somewhere I've gone astray? Am I completely off base? You're asking the wrong guy. I'm not God. I can't give you the definitive answers to that. I can say, this is what I ended up doing. This is what I ended up being interested in as an interested atheist who was intrigued by the whole idea of what is a prophet, what is a seer, what is a Messiah, not really knowing very much about the whole elaborate theology behind that. So it was really just, okay, here I am, the first guy to do a 6,000-page graphic novel, and I want it to be the truth. I want it to come down to being about reality, and as close to capital R reality as I can get it. And it's, okay, nobody ever did that before. I asked the same question that Brian is asking of me. Is there an explanation? If so, was I on the right track earlier? Is there somewhere I went astray? Am I completely off base? I ask those questions of God the same way that Brian Dunbar asked those questions of me. And I don't have the answer. The best I can do is come up with an incomplete answer because I'm just a human being. I hope that I created the 6,000-page graphic novel for a good purpose. I'm probably not going to find that out. It depends on, to a large extent, what gets done with Cerebus after I'm gone, when I have absolutely no control over that and can't have these elaborate discussions about what was my intention and what is the total context of this. All really large questions to me are Judgment Day questions. Do the best you can. Try and be as sincere in what you're doing. Don't do things just to create effects. Try and do things to improve the world in general, get people thinking. And that's the best I can do with that. So